Good morning, welcome along to Paper Talk, where the news of Liverpool being put up for sale by the owners has dominated the back pages. And to get stuck into it, we're joined by Dominic King from the Daily Mail and sports broadcaster Dan Bardell. Good morning to you both. Right, let's get into this big story then, and we'll start with your paper, Dominic. The headline that you've gone with, for sale. So Dominic, give us the lowdown and any updates on this one.
So this is different. This all feels very different to anything that's gone before with Fenway Sports Group. The news obviously was first reported by David Ornstein in The Athletic yesterday. And the key thing about the message that's come from Fenway in the time since is that there's no insistence that they're not for sale. Whenever there's been a story like this in the past, they've always been very, very quick to distance themselves from it. But yesterday there was nothing of the sort. The statement was very not ambiguous, but it left you under no illusion that there could possibly be a sale in the future, and that's what they're working towards.
Well, the report suggests, and we can see it here as well, that this was likely to happen as soon as the Super League was off the cards. Is that the case, Dominic?
Martin Samuels, our chief sports writer, has written a very forceful piece about that subject on the Inside Spread. Listen, Fenway have always been open to ideas of how they might be able to bring in investment, and the Super League is the thing that they will be most associated with. It was a terrible misjudgment of the mood. It was far removed from what Liverpool as a club strive for in terms of Europe, and that the fact that it is a year on, and there was significantly there was no denial yesterday when these questions were put to Fenway. They wouldn't say anything other than the statement that they released. They wouldn't entertain any kind of other questions. So the fact that there was no explanation for it gives you all the reasoning you need to see.
Well, Dan, I'm sure you will have seen plenty of reaction to this one on social media. You will have maybe had some Liverpool fans as friends and supporters that you think would have had a voice on this. How has this news gone down with those Liverpool supporters?
Yeah, the Liverpool fans that I know, I think they'd welcome some fresh investment. I think that they don't overlook the good that the group has done for Liverpool. Under the ownership, Liverpool have had a lot of success. There's been a lot of changes to the infrastructure, a lot of improvements to the stadium, and they've got a new training ground as well. So I think that's not lost on the Liverpool fans. But especially this season with the way it started, I feel there is a bit of frustration amongst the fan base that they feel that the kind of net spend and the spending is not up there with the likes of Manchester City. And at the moment, the managers kind of echoed this as well, that they feel like they can't compete. So I think the Liverpool fans that I speak to, and from what I've seen on social media, they'd welcome some form of fresh investment. And I think some of the success, some of the Liverpool fans I know, I think they kind of put that more down to Klopp than they do in the ownership.
Well, that's the Liverpool fan side of things. We've obviously had the statement from the owners as well. Dominic, I'm sure everyone will want to know what Jurgen Klopp thinks about this. How do you think he'll react?
I think it's inconceivable that Jurgen Klopp hasn't known what's going on because he has such a close relationship with Mike Gordon, who's the Fenway Sports president. They speak to each other several times a day. We won't find out what Jurgen's thinking today. Pep Lijnders, his assistant, is due to do the Carabao Cup press conference, so we'll probably have to wait until Wednesday, either after the game tomorrow or until Friday, to get his thoughts on the matter. But no, it's he will. He signed a contract in April after due to his relationship with Mike Gordon in particular. And as I say, I think it's inconceivable that he won't have known what's been going on in the background.
Well, let's talk about the asking price that they'll be looking for. How likely is it that FSG will be getting that asking price of £4 billion?
Well, they've become the very fact that Liverpool are on the front page of the Financial Times tells you how serious this story is. The Financial Times reporting that Liverpool are the fourth most valuable football team in world football. I think it's very, very likely that they will achieve a figure in that asking price because of the popularity of the club around the world, the history of the club, the the potential within it in terms of the stadiums being expanded to 61,000 from next season. The everything that they've done in Europe over the last 6 years, the way the squad is, I think it's very, very likely, particularly if you compare them to the price that Chelsea went for.
Well, Dan, Dominic's just touched on what Liverpool have done on the pitch. Have they punched above their weight in recent years? And looking at this season, have they proved that they need quite wealthy owners to compete with the likes of Manchester City and potentially Newcastle in the future?
The problem is that over the years they've shown that actually you don't need that to compete. The success that they've had has been amazing. But again, like I said before, I think a lot of that comes down to Jurgen Klopp and his management style and what he's harnessed at Liverpool himself. I think he is the most important character at Liverpool. The manager, no matter who the owners are, the most important person at Liverpool is Jurgen Klopp. And this season's been a bit of a slog at times for them so far. That they look a bit tired. I think they probably can't spend as much money as they would like to, although obviously they brought in Darwin Núñez for a massive amount of money in the summer. But it feels like the squad that they've got's coming towards the end of the cycle, so they're going to need some form of a bigger rebuild over the next 2, 3, 4 transfer windows. And under the current ownership, I'm not sure they're going to be able to do that, and I think that is frustrating for the Liverpool fans. So again, as I said before, I think they would welcome a change and welcome some fresh ownership. But the important thing is, I think it's the type of owners that the Liverpool fans would be very interested to see what type of ownership came in.
Well, let's move on to our next paper then, on to another story. Nathan Jones looks set to be the man to replace Ralph Hasenhüttl at Southampton. This one's in the Daily Mirror just here. Dan, I'll stick with you on this one. Is it a bit of a surprise move from Southampton?
Surprised me. I think it would be a risky move. Nathan Jones away from Luton at Stoke City last time didn't go very well, and obviously he's ended up back at Luton and done a very good job at his 2 spells there. But it's a different beast coming into Southampton, a team and a club that are probably in a little bit of a state of flux at the moment. They had a big rebuild in the summer, went a different route with their transfer policy and bringing in younger players, and they've suffered so far this season, and they've not been a good watch at the times I've seen them, Southampton, and the fans are unhappy, and I think a change of manager was inevitable. He'd been there for a number of years now, and they were struggling. They probably got worse as well over his time there, despite the fact I think he is actually a very good manager. But I just think hiring Nathan Jones, that's a huge risk. I wouldn't have expected Southampton to have gone down that route, but at the moment, that looks like it's the way they're going to go.
Well, Dominic, looking at Southampton's recruitment, they've brought in quite a few young players and actually trying to build something using that younger squad. Do you think that this would be the right appointment for them?
No, as Dan said, it took me completely by surprise. I'd heard some other names mentioned, but the speed with which this deal was completed after Ralph Hasenhüttl was relieved of his duties shows that Nathan Jones was the man that they'd wanted above anybody else. He's obviously got a point to prove, I would think, after what happened at Stoke. It didn't necessarily work for him there, but his work at Luton's been excellent. And you speak to people who've worked with him, and they say he's meticulous. He's committed to a good way of playing football, which Southampton have always been associated with over the last couple of years. So no, it's a big opportunity for him, but I don't think we should underestimate the task ahead of him, because Southampton have had a ruinous start to the season, and they're amongst the favourites to be relegated for a reason.
Well, let's move on then to another story. And Dan, we couldn't have you on without talking about your mighty Villa. This one might be a bit of an interest to you. Ollie Watkins praising the impact of Unai Emery and the impact he's already had at Aston Villa. He's saying that he's already changed the side from a long ball team. What are your thoughts on that, especially after that win against Manchester United?
Being perfectly honest, I wouldn't have had us down as a long ball team under Steven Gerrard. I didn't have a clue what kind of team Villa were under Steven Gerrard. I couldn't have told you what type of team Aston Villa were trying to be under him at all. But on Sunday against Manchester United, that's one of the best performances I've ever seen in my time as a Villa fan. I've been going since I was 7. I think Villa hadn't beaten Manchester United since I was 9. I'm 37 now, and it was an absolute joy to be at Villa Park on Sunday. Just the way Emery operates, the way he's so involved on the touchline. You could see that he had clear tactics on and off the ball. I'd never seen Villa look so well drilled and so well set up, and it showed, because they deserved to beat Manchester United. I think even the most ardent Manchester United fan would turn around and say fair play. Villa deserved to win that. But yeah, it's great to hear Ollie Watkins saying that they're enjoying working under the new manager, because he's been a breath of fresh air so far. And as I've said, I think that was honestly one of the best displays I've ever seen at Villa Park.
Well, Dominic, Ollie Watkins there, not holding back any punches. How do you think Steven Gerrard, obviously the former manager, and his former manager will be feeling reading these comments?
Well, I think Steven's gone away for a break. I think Steven's gone away to get his head clear after everything that's gone on. I think it'll sting him, but he's been in football long enough to know that that these things happen. Players say these kind of things. No, it never worked out for him, unfortunately, and yeah, you know, he will be determined to come back stronger somewhere else.
Well, Dominic, Dan, thank you so much for joining us this morning, looking at all of those headlines across all of the back pages. It's been a pleasure to chat to you, and I'm looking forward to seeing what happens and what develops this week. Right.